This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, there we go. I knew I forgot to do something. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. I will be your host here for the next hour. Okay, we have so much to get to. I was just talking with my producer, Delaney. We don't even know where to begin, but that is a good problem to have on this show. We've got two big press conferences happening right now. One of them very close to home, right in our own backyard, with Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman. He's speaking right now on the state of crime in our city at a newsmakers luncheon. Also, down in our nation's capital, we have White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, talking about, most recently, the big meeting that they are anticipating on Friday between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin on the ongoing war, now the years-long war, with Ukraine. Okay, so without further ado here, I'm going to send us now out to Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman. Let's listen in.
Examples, but we do have a cumbersome, burdensome administrative process that does hurt proactive policing. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because there is challenges in regards to certain type of report writings where we have officers working long hours that we can lean into this work and modify. And so there has to be a balanced act. We need to make sure that we are continuing to lean in and be responsible for constitutional policing, ensuring that we are following the law. But when we look at from the administrative side of this Collins agreement, absolutely, and I have been putting forth those particular advocacy, but as you just said, I don't run this. All I can do is advocate. And one of the things I don't do, and I don't try to have this type of public messiness, just because you don't see me at every corner on the microphone, because I use that microphone for the appropriate conversations. Those conversations have been had with a number of different people. I just don't need to do it in the public. But I have been advocating, as you can see, that we have had some modifications. But yes, Jessica, we want more. I'm asking for more.
Can you be specific on how you want it modified?
You said okay? I'm just trying, all right?
I won't do that every time.
All right, I'm just trying to be nice up here, you know. I want to be able to walk away. Well, I say this very much, the easy low-hanging fruit is traffic stops. Our traffic stops have been consistently over the 86%. We've been in the 90s consistently. Are there ways to track and make sure that we are continuously making sure that we are being, responsible in the work that we do? We have so many checks and balancing measures. I mean, a lot of times from the city standpoint, we as a department is used as like the example of accountability and tracking. And so I believe that the low-hanging fruit is traffic stops. I mean, that's just one, but I look at it from a standpoint of just a lot of administrative stuff. When things need to be filed, there's requirements for officers, there's requirement for the supervision. There is really no wiggle room. At the end of the shift, reports need to be filed. Some of our officers have done 2 shifts. They're tired. And so to think about these particular type of requirements is a challenge of saying, man, to do this is I'm going to have to be burdened with this particular report at the end of my shift amongst all the other reports. There's cost associated with this. That's overtime being used. So there's a lot of things that we can lean into on this particular effort. And I'm not afraid to say it. I believe that we have shown ourselves to be responsible within this organization. We have many checks and balances, and I'm committed. As long as I'm in this seat, which I'm in this seat for another 4 years, you can be reassured no foot will be let off the pedal. You'll be reassured that I will not allow things to backslide under my watch. That's my commitment.
Thanks again for being here, Chief. Appreciate it. Totally shifting gears here.
Okay.
About an hour ago, your department confirmed for us that the...
No, you're fine.
Is that better? About an hour ago, your department confirmed for us that the investigation into the Water Street State Street crash, where a driver drove through barricades and hit and severely injured 2 women, happened about 3 weeks ago. They confirmed for us this afternoon that that investigation was closed. Can you explain why no detectives interviewed the victims or any of the bystanders to follow up on the investigation after that crash?
So based on what I've been told and briefed about this, that the investigation revealed what was necessary for the particular, I guess, accountability measures that were put out for that. And as sad as that situation was in regards to seeing that type of injuries, whatnot, basically based on the facts of the case that the investigation revealed, this was the outcome of the certain citations issued. And yeah, so that's it.
So you didn't answer my question. Why were no victims interviewed by police, no bystanders, witnesses who were there? To our understanding and viewing your reports from MPD, no one was followed up with after the crash. No detectives had contacted the victims or had contacted any of the witnesses that were there to get additional information and statements.
So for that level of the investigation, knowing that there was officers who responded, knowing that there were interviews taking place, there was nothing further that I've been briefed on in regards to needs to be taken care of for that particular investigation.
I wanted to ask you about street takeovers, specifically the city legislation you were in support of regarding the spectator penalty. As I understand it, that's in limbo. I wanted to get your thoughts on, or your what you're doing to try to push that through, if you still are, and then second, how your department is still trying to address these despite that legislation being tied up.
What am I doing about it? So that's my responsibility in regards to pushing legislation through?
Or are you advocating for it still?
We've supported it. I know that there's a number of different entities involved in this process, so I think that's a better question for them. We support having the type of accountability measures for such a serious particular offense, and there comes a point where there's more people than just me to make sure that there's accountability, especially when you talk about this is in the realm of the political realm. That's voters and constituents and our citizens. So we've made our point. I don't believe there's anything more for me to say. Understand that no matter what particular legislation is in place and not in place, we continue to still do the work that we do. We still have deployments. We still have dedicated resources to impact and disrupt, because no matter what's going on, we still...
Okay, I just want to bring you guys up to speed on a press conference that you are listening to. That is Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman speaking right now downtown at a newsmakers luncheon. As you just heard a little taste of this there, he is getting grilled by reporters right now about several issues impacting MPD. Unfortunately, as of which there are many. The first thing that you heard, and we joined this kind of late, so this was my interpretation of that reporter's question. I believe that they were talking about the ongoing contract negotiations with the Milwaukee Police Association and the city of Milwaukee. As we've been reporting here on Fox 6, they've been at odds over this contract now for months. The biggest sticking point right now is pay. This contract, though, I mean, we're getting down to the wire. It's set to end set to end in December of this year. It started as a private negotiation between the police union and the city, but now, because these MPA members are so frustrated, we're becoming a lot more aware of it as a public. So again, we've also had a lot of incidents recently involving violence towards police officers. So of course, officer safety is a really big concern here. A lot of officers say, you know, they feel like there aren't enough people working right now for the department, that they could use some more people, that they're tired, that they're being overworked. Kind of the double-edged sword of this here is that, conversely, it's really hard to recruit right now for the Milwaukee Police Department. One of the reasons for that, you could say, or many would argue, would be money. So the MPA is asking for a 12.75% increase. It would be spread out over the next 3 years. The city is offering a 5% increase. So you can see here why there's been a bit of a discrepancy. You've got, the city is offering a 5% raise. MPA is asking for a total of a 12.75% increase. So this is pretty significant. The city, I should say, is offering 5% increase on the 2023 salaries with no back pay. Because again, this has been going on for quite some time. So that is what you just heard of there. One of the things that was being asked about. The other question that was pretty interesting was about an investigation that was going on Water Street that we also reported about here on Fox 6. So Milwaukee police were investigating a crash that left 2 pedestrians very injured. This happened back on July 20th of this year. Police in this situation say that a driver on Water Street, who was driving very late at around 2 o'clock in the morning, disregarded a traffic barrier and hit and injured 2 pedestrians on the street. Now, the driver did stay on the street and originally was cited, but it has since come out that that driver will not be charged after all. So, as you can imagine, this caused a little bit of conflict with the victims' families who feel like this driver should be charged. So that question that you just heard, the second question, was in regards to that. Why is this investigation now apparently closed, and why was it that the victims' families were not talked to more by detectives who were on the case? The pedestrians, who were both 22, I should mention, were sent to the hospital and they were treated for very serious injuries. So that's what that question was about. Originally, they were talking about changes that need to come to policing in the city of Milwaukee. This is also something that's come up as we've had several police officers die recently in the line of duty. Far too many lives lost by the brave men and women who are serving our great city, trying to keep it safe. Jeffrey Norman, to that question, said he thinks that traffic stops is a great place to start in terms of reform and making changes. A lot of times we do hear stories of scenes that start out as a traffic stop, they turn into some sort of a chase, and then somebody is injured, or there's a chase that then leads to, on foot, that then leads to a shooting. As we know, those can also be very dangerous as well. So a breadth of subjects being brought up for Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman at this Newsmakers luncheon. Let's listen a little bit longer before we go to break.
Chief, I assume your department obviously provides information to city leaders, aldermen, the mayor's office. On Friday, the mayor said that the driver of this Water Street crash was a good Samaritan, stayed on scene and called 911. The city's own CAD call reports show that neither the driver nor the passenger of that car that blew through the barricade called 911. And witnesses say they did not render aid either. What's the discrepancy here?
So I will have to look more into that. I did not know that this was going to be the focus of your question today. Would appreciate more of a heads up on that, but we will get back to you about that and see what we can answer for you, because I don't talk things off the cuff. I like to get a more thorough review, and I just wish we had better use of this time than focusing on one incident that definitely is very serious. My heart's out to the victim's family and the victims, but we can get back to you on that.
Just to respond to that, we have been asking questions of your department for 3 weeks now, so unfortunately that's why we're doing it here, and why I'm sure all other journalists brought questions for you here today.
Understood, but again, to be prepared to talk about things in a minute detail.
Okay, yeah, so Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman is getting even more questions. It sounds like they're coming from the same reporter on this incident that happened back on July 20th on Water Street, where 2 22-year-old young women were injured, seriously injured, by a driver who blew past a barricade and hit them. They were pedestrians who were out walking around early that morning. I'm not sure if they were on a street or on a sidewalk. So that is, it seems like that's sort of the questions that this is surrounding right now. Before this, the White House press briefing goes down, I do want to go there. So I'm going to pull up now White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt here. Let's listen in The last time I had a chance to check in with this press conference, they were talking about President Donald Trump's expected meeting this week, happening this Friday with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Let's listen in right now to the White House briefing room.
Any given moment, I may have been sent to district number 7, district number 3, district number 5.
Trust him to lead this important department. I think a couple more questions. Sure, go ahead.
Given that the administration now has jurisdiction over MPD, can we expect, does that mean like personnel changes, hiring, firing? Can we expect leadership changes internally in the Metropolitan Police Department?
I just walked through what the leadership structure looks like right now.
Within the uniformed police department, right? I mean, does that mean that the Attorney General, others kind of have the ability to make those personnel decisions?
I would imagine it means they have the ability. As for any changes, I'm not tracking any. Again, we look forward to working alongside the Metropolitan Police Department, and we did that last night successfully, and we hope we can do that for the next 29 nights. Go ahead. Yes.
So a lot of reports that ICE agents detained a 15-year-old student with disabilities outside an LA high school, even leaving bullets on the sidewalk. How does the Trump administration plan to ensure parents that their children can return to school without fear of being wrongfully detained or endangered by federal agents?
Where'd you see that report?
LA Times.
Okay, well, I'll have to look into the veracity of that report. I read the LA Times almost every single day, and they are notorious for misleading the public. I'm sure there's more to that story than the way that you just characterized it. This administration wants to ensure that all school children across the country in every city, from Los Angeles to DC, can go to school safely. And that's part of this administration's effort to federalize the National Guard in Washington, to ensure that ICE is removing child predators. I just read you a list of a handful, just a handful, of the hundreds of thousands of child predators that this administration is removing off of the streets of Los Angeles and every other community across this country, because we want to ensure this is a country where American school children can be safe, where they can prosper, and where they are not threatened by violent criminals, whether they are illegal or whether they are American citizen homegrown criminals, as this president calls them. So I will gladly go check on that report, and I'll get you the facts. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, that is a wrap there on the White House press briefing. You just heard Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt wrapping up questions from reporters. They covered a lot of topics, as they usually do at the press briefing, but what they left off on, I believe, was immigration crackdowns now that school is starting with families. That reporter just asking a question, it sounds like it was about an incident that happened in downtown Los Angeles. That has become a question about where ICE immigration crackdowns can happen. Courthouses, places of worship, schools, things like that. Those are all kind of issues that have come up with this increased focus, this increased effort on removing illegal immigrants from our country, in terms of the Trump administration working towards that goal, I should say. So another question that came up as well was, this has been a really hot story this week, President Trump's plans to essentially take over the Washington, D.C. Police Department, the Metropolitan Police Department, an effort to crack down on crime in our nation's capital. Democrats and other local leaders say that this move is really just part of a power grab. But FBI Director Kash Patel said that he is proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with the men and women who keep our nation's capital safe. He really views this more as a partnership. He said, when you let good cops be good cops, give them the tools they need and back them every step of the way, and they will deliver every time. So he is in support of this move. He views this more as a way to give support to the Metropolitan Police Department as opposed to creating any kind of conflict when it comes to public safety in our nation's capital. So those are some of the issues that were tackled there in the White House briefing room. I know we didn't get too much of that. It was set to start at noon. It started a little bit later, but still I'm glad we got to hear some of what's coming out of that today. So, okay, right now we are going to take a short break, kind of regroup here. Coming up on the other side of this break, we have our weather expert, Stephanie Barrichello, joining us live to talk about this ongoing flooding crisis that we are seeing here in southeast Wisconsin. Several counties in our viewing area are under a state of emergency right now as these communities are still reeling from seeing, over a foot of rain just this past weekend, and then there was more rain, you might have noticed, or maybe you were impacted by this as well, that happened, or that came down as severe thunderstorms struck early this morning. So, you know, our community really didn't have any time at all to recover, to let some of that water recede, some of those levels go down, let some of that rain sort of absorb back into the earth, when more just got piled on today. So a lot of the issues, unfortunately, that we saw from the weekend, folks dealing with things like flooded basements, flooded garages. We saw really high water levels in our area, creeks and rivers. Those are going to be problems that are only going to get worse, or that did only get worse today with the rain chances. So we got Steph coming in, and she's going to talk to us about what the future holds here, what this recovery process will look like, and just what that storm this morning did to an area that was already so deeply.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. Proud to be your host here until about 1:30. Okay, so right now I want to send us over to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A story we brought to you as breaking news on Wake Up. We know that at least 2 people have died in a U.S. steel plant explosion. Dozens of other people were injured. This was at Clairton Coke Works. This is near Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. It prompted an emergency response with multiple injuries reported. The big question this morning, excuse me, I keep saying this morning, I mean this afternoon, is how something like this could happen. What went awry here? So we know that the governor was set to speak at this press conference. It looks like his remarks have wrapped, but I want to hear what these other officials have to say here about how this happened. Again, we are going now live to a press conference regarding the situation ongoing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. At least 2 people are dead and dozens more are injured after the Clairton Coke Works plant experienced an explosion. Let's listen in.
Everybody that was in the area had a personal gas monitors. We have fixed monitors in all locations. So obviously we're going through all of that information as part of the investigation. And if we find anything that's a problem, we will let the authorities know. Absolutely. This is a. Yeah, routine maintenance is what they were preparing for. I think it was actually going to happen next week, but we'll get to the bottom of all of that.
And again, still no warnings that you know
No, not at that time. Not at that time.
What can you do personally for the families of the injured right now to reach out to them? Mr. Bird, if you could answer that question. Is there something you can do or say to the families of the injured
Yeah.
right now?
I can answer that. We have reached out to the families, not only that were injured, but of the 2 deceased. We will obviously be very upfront with them and take care of any needs that they have initially, and then we will also have long-term health insurance and those types of things that we will work through with them, and they will not be forgotten.
How long do we think this investigation will take to find the cause and make sure it doesn't happen?
I can't comment on that. As I said, right now it's an active investigation. We're working with all the state, federal, our experts that we have brought in from other areas. They're all working together to make sure that we do this properly, and we ensure that it doesn't happen again. I mean, these are brothers and sisters and fathers that, unfortunately we have lost, and it's important for us as a company to make sure that it never happens again. Every one of our employees knows that at any time they can stop a job if they feel that it is unsafe, and we encourage that, and that's what we want going forward as well.
Give us a clearer picture about what the injuries are right now and how those folks are recovering.
I can't comment on that.
For the investment from the bond still, that is what people want to know. What upgrades will be made? What will change from that investment?
Yeah. Well, that'll come out of the investigation. I'm not going to comment on that, on who was, who was not.
Emissions has there been since yesterday? Like off-gas generator, fence line monitoring?
Yeah, as you heard the county executive say, we are well below any of our health thresholds. We will continue to monitor that. We monitor it every day. So that is normal course of business.
So are you off-gassing or how? I don't even know.
No, we are not off-gassing. What?
You're not?
No.
Are you producing enough coke to fuel the blast furnaces that you have online right now at capacity?
Yes.
Paul, last question.
Yeah, actually, can you talk a little bit about how much of this plant is actually operating, percentage-wise?
Let me make something clear. We have 2 priorities right now. Our first priority is to the families that lost loved ones, the injured, to make sure that they are getting the best care that they have, and to continue to do this investigation to find out what happened and make sure it never happens again. I can't tell you exactly the percentage of what we have. We have contingency plans in place all the time to make sure that if something like this happens, we're able to do what we need to do. But our first priority is with the families and our members of our USW and management members that were impacted by this.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
I have a really quick question for you, and it has to do, and I don't want to be insensitive because I know we have a lot on plate here, but we've been covering the future of these services. All right, you were just listening to a press conference going on in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I should say, in Allegheny County. Officials there, lawmakers, local, state, and federal leaders weighing in on a steel plant explosion that happened yesterday. At least 2 people were killed in that steel plant explosion. It happened at Clairton Coke Works. Dozens more were injured. You just heard some tough questions there. It sounds like that gentleman that we just heard from is somebody who's with Clairton Coke Works. He was asked things like, how did this happen? What was the cause of the explosion? Was gas possibly involved here? Is that something that you use at your plant? We also were asked about the conditions of the victims and how they're doing. Those were questions that really he couldn't answer. He said, we are really early on here in this investigation, and so we don't know exactly what caused this blast, what caused this explosion that, affected so many people. He said he's got a few priorities right now. One of them is to be there for the victims' families, to make sure that they have the resources and the support that they need. Their hearts are very much with them, he says. Also, it's to ensure that those people who were injured and are still in the hospital receive the very best care, he says, that they can get. So there's no clarity, unfortunately, this afternoon as to what caused that steel plant explosion in Pittsburgh. Okay, so we're going to take another short break here, and Right after this break, we are joined by weather expert Stephanie Barachello to talk to us about the status of extreme flooding going on right now in southeast Wisconsin. It is an interview with Steph that you will not want to miss because she has been following this very closely all weekend long. She came in overnight on Saturday to help track these storms, and she was really kind of on the front lines. Box 2 weather or box 2 weather key? Okay.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. My name is Nicola Junowitz. I'm your host this afternoon. Want to get now to arguably the biggest story happening in our southeast Wisconsin news cycle right now. That big story is the weather story. We've been talking about severe floods that happened over the weekend that left most, if not a lot, of southeast Wisconsin digging out from just buckets of water. Over the last couple of days, we've spoke to people who have seen garages flooded out. We know the Wisconsin State Fair had to be canceled more than a day early because of all the rain that they got at the fairgrounds. It was just not safe for fairgoers to go there for the 11th and final day on Sunday. We also know that, the Thomas Rhett concert at Alpine Valley on Saturday night, that was another event that was impacted. It was delayed several times. But the big issue right now is getting neighbors out of this mess. People we talk to say that they are just feeling very overwhelmed because of what's been left behind on their property in terms of damage and also in their basements. A lot of people got a lot of water and they're just feeling, as you can imagine, very stressed about that and also very hopeless. Okay, so let's go now to Stephanie Barachello. She is joining us in the weather office. And Steph, you and I were chatting about this earlier. The storm this morning just kind of added insult to injury.
It did, absolutely. In fact, there were some spots this morning, Nicola, that picked up over an inch of rainfall, which is nothing compared to what we saw technically, Saturday night into Sunday when you really look at the numbers. But still, adding even just a little bit, it just means more time for those rivers and low-lying areas still dealing with flooding for that water to recede. So we did pick up anywhere from almost a half an inch in some spots to over an inch of rainfall just with that strong thunderstorm that moved through earlier today. Of course, rainfall totals from Saturday night and Sunday, those were nearing a foot in a handful of communities. So truly historic flooding that we experienced and that we are still cleaning up from. We talked about during the 11 a.m. news, Bowen was out live at the press conference in Germantown, that river level up there. still rising. And that's something else that we could see, because remember, a lot of water flows to those rivers. So even once the rain ends, we could still technically see river levels rising, which I think in this case is, one of the factors for Germantown. But there are still a lot of communities that are dealing with high water. We've already talked multiple times about still water rescues in the last couple of days. So this is sadly going to be an ongoing issue, I think, for the remainder of the week.
Unfortunately, I think you're right, Steph. A lot of people, too, that I'm talking to or that I've heard said, if they did also get damage to their home, they're not going to be kind of back to normal, so to speak, anytime soon, because it's kind of competitive to get, an adjuster out to your house and to get any contractors who will come in and look at your work and come up with a timeline or a game plan, so to speak, for getting all these repairs made and everything else fixed and cleaned up.
Which is so tricky, because this is the type of event that you want to clean up after immediately, because then you start thinking about mold. But I understand that there's, it's not always possible, but I know even in my neighborhood, driving by all of the homes that have, the rolled up carpet on the curb, all of the other items on the curb, and it hurts. I consider myself thankful. We had a little bit of water, but not a ton, as compared to a lot of our neighbors, especially down our street. And this is the reality for so many communities. This was a widespread event, with the fact that we had 4 separate counties deal with such high rainfall totals. It wasn't just isolated in one area, which a lot of times we'll use the phrasing isolated higher amounts possible, or locally higher amounts possible, meaning there could be a couple of spots, maybe a city here, a city there, that sees higher rainfall totals. But in this case, it was basically 4 counties that saw between 7 inches of rain and about a foot of rain. And still waiting on confirmation from that 14.5-inch rainfall report in Milwaukee, but still, that alone tells you that there was a lot of rain that fell in a relatively short amount of time.
I have such a bizarre question to ask, Steph, but when I hear about these incredibly high rainfall totals, it just kind of goes to show how much precip is possible in a really short period of time. I remember you explaining this so eloquently over the weekend. The issue with this system was that it kind of hung over us. It didn't move like storms typically do, and it kind of, again, I feel like this is such an outlandish question, but I hope it's okay that this is the format for me to ask you.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, if it was December, January, like how much snow are we talking here, Steph? It's hard to. Okay. I mean, is that something that's ever feasible? You know what I mean? Like, I know we don't get really severe thunderstorms in the wintertime, but humor me with my silly question.
No, I mean, I think we can even say that 12 inches, a foot of rain would be a ton as a snowfall total. That would be considered a huge snowfall event in the Milwaukee area. But this time around, we're talking about liquid precipitation. Now, we do, of course, see those snow events of, it's been a while, but we've had events of 20+ inches in a handful of communities. So we know that it's a possibility. But yes, just think about it. The numbers that we're talking about, the 7s to 12 inches, that does make more sense as a snowfall total, but even that is really high as a snowfall total. This is just really, I use the word unprecedented.
It is.
It is, and we've had other events in the past. I've heard a lot about 2011, the Nicolay area dealing with a lot of rainfall. That was an isolated area. And then even 1997, going back, I've been trying to do a little bit more research on that. And I know there's been a handful of other years where we've had a lot of rain. I think with this one, it really is the fact that it was such a large area that saw such high rainfall totals. It is not just one city dealing with this.
I was thinking too, even if you have flood control or a really good drainage system, or you're a homeowner that maybe dealt with issues in 2011 or before that, and so you really work to protect your home. I mean, we're hearing from people that even those systems were overwhelmed because they couldn't keep up with them. They were pushed to the limit.
Right, exactly. There really is no good way to handle 10+ inches of rainfall. That's just not what our infrastructure is meant for. A couple inches of rain every once in a while, certainly, and then adding to it this morning and still potentially seeing a little bit more this afternoon, though it won't really, cause the extensive flooding like we saw Saturday. It's just preventing us from moving in the right direction quicker. So we got to wait a day before we really start to see even more of that water beginning to go down.
Yeah, it's just it's so heartbreaking. It's kind of affecting a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of businesses. I know downtown Tosa is having a hard time right now, and that's such a lovely historic area that people all over love to enjoy. And the State Fair, obviously, we know how many people are affected by that.
Yeah.
All right, Steph, thank you so much. You're always so generous with your time, doing not only our newscasts, you know, you fill it on Real Milwaukee all the time, but also Wisconsin weather experts, of course. So viewers can catch Steph's latest, most up-to-date forecast coming up at 4 o'clock today. Steph, as always, thank you so much for lending your care, your kindness, your expertise on this really important subject.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're so kind.
Of course, of course. Well, I will see you later. Thank you so
Okay.
much for being here. Thank you so much for those who are watching us here for the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 1:10, and now I'm going to send us to a quick break. We're going to try to get my girl Lily Zhao on the line. She's got a lot of exciting sports stuff to talk about. Obviously, the Brewers are on fire right now. They've won 10 straight games, which means that we're 2 away from getting free burgers from George Webb, so that's really exciting. Also, there's some breaking Packers news this morning that we will also Wait, is he still up? Okay, let's go back to that. Remote. Wait, remote 2 and what? RS.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, we are still working to get Miss Lily Zhao, Fox 6 sports expert and anchor reporter. She's going to be talking to us about all things Wisconsin sports today. Big news out of the Packers involving quarterback Jordan Love. Also, the Brewers are red hot right now. We are, dare I say, just a couple games away from getting free burgers at George Webb. They play tonight right here on Fox 6. And yeah, we can't wait to talk about that because this team is just doing so well. I've noticed even at work here, everybody's wearing their Brew Crew blue and yellow to show their support for the team. So we're all very proud of the Brewers. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the Newsmakers Luncheon that is happening downtown. Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman has been getting some rapid-fire questions from reporters, being asked about everything from the status of the MPA contract, the Milwaukee Police Association contract, with the city of Milwaukee. They're still working towards an agreement on that. They're still at odds, though. Big sticking point, as we've talked about, is pay. Also, Chief Norman was asked about incidents on Water Street. He was asked in particular about an incident that happened last month I should say back in July, excuse me, where 2 pedestrians were hit by a driver who went through some traffic barriers. These 2 young women, both were 22. They were severely injured. The driver was not charged with anything, and the victims' families are a little bit upset about the way that investigation was handled. They feel like they should have been included more in the investigation. So, okay, let's see what they're talking about now at the Newsmakers Luncheon featuring Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman.
Are being in a position where they don't have to put their foot in the pedal, and that it's more than just teenagers, it's more than just young adults, it's everybody. And that's where we really got to start having a reflective look about what is it about our society's behavior, about using a 4,000-pound vehicle as if it was a toy. In light of, you know, there is, again, like you talked about Brady Street or North Avenue or Center Street.
Oh, let's just leave it where it is.
So it's no
Lily's
easy
on our story, so I'm
answer.
fine with that.
I know that we continue to look at our, you know, practices.
Oh, we do?
We are looking at technology, but for the most part, from my understanding, especially that this is why, like, I want to say the number one, but it's pretty high that the public wants this to be taken care of or to be intervened in regards to these behaviors out in our city streets.
Hi, Chief. Isaiah Holmes from Wisconsin Examiner. Much earlier in the conversation, when you were addressing the rise of homicides, you mentioned that a lot of these incidents involve kind of interpersonal conflicts in the community and conflict resolution issues and this sort of thing. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the nature of some of the violent incidences in the community, whether contributing factors are mental illness or gang violence, quote unquote, or just what are the nature of these kind of interpersonal conflicts that you were mentioning, and then also address whether in your years being a police officer in Milwaukee, living in Milwaukee, whether increasing the worse, whether that is the only effective solution that you have seen make an impact in terms of community violence in the community.
So, and I appreciate sometimes questions that they're really challenging to answer.
Okay, got it. I just
queued that up. Interpersonal conflict, how and why does it rise on a level of firearm violence? It's perplexing. The other day we had a situation where an individual was inappropriately touched. She sees the individual who inappropriately touched her, wants to confront that person. In that particular confrontation, someone dies because a firearm was used. I don't know why the police wasn't called when you see someone who has done something harmful to you, why that a firearm was allowed to be used to be that, you know, resolving that particular issue. And those are questions beyond my pay grade in regards to kind of looking down a little bit more deeper. There's a lot of people who are researchers and therapists who understands that. But what we're committed to is the transparency about these situations, to talk to our community partners. We are partners in what's called the VR FAST, Violence Response and Public Health and Safety Teams, where we have these conversations with those who are in that space, mental health. Those are in the space of community-based organizations. We do understand that, you know, a lot of unfortunate situations that we see from a homicide or firearm related is, you know, emotional. So the Milwaukee Police Department do embrace violence interruption. We do embrace in regards to those efforts of those who can help cool down the head so that there is what we call the system 2 thinking. Meaning that you can do a
and then we'll go to Lily. Do you want to go to break and then Lily, or just go to Lily?
Just, you know, innate and just go, you know, 0 to 90. So those are.
All right, you were just listening live there to Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman. He is speaking right now at a Newsmakers luncheon downtown. He's the keynote speaker. For, gosh, the past hour or so, he has been getting a lot of questions from reporters in the area, TV, radio, print, asking him about everything from the MPA contract that is still very much in the negotiation phase It's set to expire at the end of December here, so the clock is ticking on that. He was also asked as well about safety on Water Street, the status of traffic stops right now in Milwaukee. Many of those recently have led to dangerous, if not deadly, situations for not just officers, but also civilians. So lots of kind of hot button issues that they're talking about regarding safety in our city. So now let's get to some lighter news, shall we? Let's talk Brewers, and who better to bring in for this conversation than our sports anchor, Lily Zhao. She is joining us now live from her home. Hi, Lily. She's got a busy day today, lots going on, so I'm so grateful that she was able to take the time to chat with us. Lily, can you see and hear me okay?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, good. I can see you, and you look great, so that's all that matters. Okay. Wow. Okay, so when I asked you / begged you to come on to talk about sports today, I was thinking we would talk just about the Brewers, but now we've got this Jordan Love news coming out to discuss. So break that down for our viewers.
Yeah, I mean, he was seen yesterday. He practiced all day yesterday, but it was seen that he had a like a wrap around his left thumb. It's his non-throwing hand. He went through the entire practice with that apparatus on his hand. Was not limited in any way. And then after practice, he was seen talking to a couple of the Packers trainers about said thumb, kind of flexing it out in front of them. So it was noticed yesterday. And then today, this morning, GM Brian Gutekunst mentioned that he would be getting a minor procedure done on said left thumb. And Matt LaFleur, their head coach, saying that they believe it's a minor procedure. It's something that's not going to require a very lengthy time to be out. They believe it's going to be a relatively quick recovery. So the goal is to get him back out next week. So he's having the surgery this morning just to figure out this ligament issue that he had. He suffered it on the last play in the preseason game when he got sacked. He hit it on a helmet when he went down. And so that's what they're addressing now, just so it's not lingering throughout the season. But I know whenever you see Packers quarterback get surgery, I think it's like you assume the worst, right?
Yeah.
But according to the Packers brass, it'll be a relatively quick procedure. He'll hopefully be back next week. But, the intent was to have him play in the final preseason game against the Seahawks next week. But at this point, probably highly unlikely he will play. So that is what's going on with Jordan Love. So there's a lot of interviews today with the Packers, but that one, of course, is the most significant.
Well, I can imagine too, obviously you're right. It's not his throwing hand. It's his non-dominant hand, right? It's his left hand. But I would think that when he has to hold the ball and kind of catch, you need both hands for that.
Yeah, I think it'll more probably affect how he, takes snaps under center because, you need both hands to do that.
Sure.
And also kind of just setting the ball when he does throw. So it's a very unique obstacle that I don't think this team has kind of navigated before with Jordan. And so again, it's better news that it's not on his throwing hand. If it's on his throwing hand, that's a way bigger issue, but they're trying to manage it, get ahead of it. So it's not something he has to deal with moving on the season. But yeah, you're right. It's going to have an effect on just how he does stuff under center, which I think is an important part of their game plan. It'll affect what he does in shotgun as well when he does get the ball from his center. So those are the things they're going to try to work on. So it's really not ideal that he's not getting any more reps essentially in the preseason. And then week 1, you're playing the Lions, who have a really good defense. And so you want to protect that hand too. So a lot kind of going through, I'm sure, Jordan's mind and the Packers' mind of how they're going to navigate this injury. But again, at least they kind of did it earlier rather than later.
So true. Like the timing of this, yeah, it would have been great if the surgery he could have had done in May or June, but at least it's not happening in November, December during the postseason. I mean, God forbid that would be the worst. Okay, so happy news now. Let's talk about the Brewers. They are on fire. Are we, at 10 straight wins now, Lily? 9?
10 straight wins, yeah.
10. Okay, that's phenomenal. So we got a big game tonight on Fox 6. What are you expecting to see for that one?
Well, yeah, I'm really happy it's on Fox 6. So everybody, who's tuning in, tune into Fox 6 to watch the game. Freddie Peralta and Paul Skeens, 2 all-star pitchers on the mound. So that pitching battle will be really fun to watch. But just in general, it's can the Brewers match their season high this year already of 11 straight wins? They were 1 win shy of that George Webb burger, which I know Brewers fans want. So we'll see if they to win number 11. If they do that, they could get win number 12 at home tomorrow in their series finale against Pittsburgh. So that'll be fun to watch. But regardless of that, though, it's can the Brewers keep it up against Paul Skeens? The last time Paul Skeens pitched against the Brewers, they were fine. 4 innings, 4 runs allowed. So they did what they had to do against a really good pitcher in Skeens. We'll see if they can do it again today and win game number 11. But Nicola, I'll tell you that the vibes are high. So, I mean, this team is really riding through. They're cruising. They're playing really good baseball. It's really fun to watch. So I'm very happy the game is on our air tonight.
Me too. I have to think, I know on Sunday they were faced with a kind of a tough decision, as a lot of organizations were, and that was how to deal with the weather, because I know 94 was seeing standing water, puddles, vehicles. We talked to fans who said it took them like 2 hours to get to AmFam from Mars Cheese Castle, which is not how long that should take. So they really came out in spades and really kind of went through some challenging conditions to get there to watch that game in person. I think the Miz giveaway was a big part of that for those first 25,000 fans. But do you think that maybe there's a chance that part of their decision to say, you know what, the show must go on, was this momentum, that they don't want to mess with it because it's so good?
I think that's part of it. I think the other part of it is it really is tough to reschedule a baseball game, knowing that the Brewers have a roof. You know, not to say they don't need fans there, but they can still play a game without fans, right? So I think for them it was going to be really tough to reschedule or just postpone this game because of the fans. And that sounds bad, but that's just how it is, right? So even if people couldn't get to the ballpark, I think they still would have played the game. I think if there was a threat to anyone's safety, you know, player, all that stuff, they probably would have canceled it. Sure. But again, it is just nice that AmFam has a roof to kind of put that all to bed. It had, you know, had this ballpark not had a roof, we would not be playing a game on Sunday.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I went to the game on Sunday and it was quite the trek to get in there. But I give a lot of props to, you know, all the parking attendants who were there. You know, they were very patient with a lot of the fans that were coming in, because there are only a couple entrances into the ballpark that you get into. So I think it was sold as a sellout crowd, over 42,000 fans.
Wow.
And 33,000 made their way inside somehow. I mean, they found parking, they got in through the elements. So a big props to all the fans who made it out there, for everybody working to get everybody in there. It was quite the effort, and I think they were rewarded with a really, really fun game on Sunday.
Yeah, and let's keep it going, right? I think
absolutely.
There's whatever they're doing, it's working very, very well. So this is all super exciting. All right, Lily, thank you. So you've been so generous with your time. Thank you for doing this show with me. It means a lot. Yeah, let's go Brew Crew. I'll see you tonight.
See ya.
All right, bye, Lily. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, she's just such a wonderful friend and a wonderful coworker, and I am very grateful to her for helping me out and coming on our Wisconsin Live desk. You probably noticed I'm not really a sports girl, so having Lily on really kind of helps me out in talking about the Brewers, because it is Brew Crew Tuesday, of course, right here on Fox 6. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break now. I just saw with my little eye Brian Polson. We're going to tap in, tap out here. He is picking up your second hour of Wisconsin Live Desk here. So we will see you on the other side of this break. And I will see you next Tuesday right here at, actually, no, I'm on.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Okay, before I hand things over to Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson, I'm actually going to head down to D.C. for the State Department briefing. Let's listen in.
You've got to end it. So we know what his agenda is, which is what it's always been. We know what has bothered him, which is the killing of civilians. We know that he has been not happy with President Putin with his actions and what's happened in Ukraine. We know that he is going to inform President Zelensky and European leaders about what happens at this meeting. Then we will all find out what happened. And this is what I know the president has been caring about. Yes, Nadia.
Congratulations on the new job. I guess soon we're going to call you Madam Ambassador.
Well, we'll wait. Just call me Tammy for now. That's a good one. I've been called worse things. Yes, ma'am.
So I have two questions. First, there is 26 foreign ministers who signed a joint statement calling on Israel to allow unrestricted access to Gaza. The GHF work is not enough by the standard of every organization that works there, and there is no evidence that Hamas actually stealing the food. So considering that, like international figures, whether it's McDonald's calling on the Pope to visit Gaza before it's too late, why not allowing other ways, including the UN, to help people who are on the precipice of dying, basically of starvation?
Well, I will remind you, and I know you know because of your work, everyone here knows, that situation is rapidly evolving. We've been working from the beginning for a ceasefire, specifically for the reasons you've noted and that we all care about, which is the aid for the people of Gaza. Hamas has been at war with the people of Gaza. We've seen that through their refusal to stop this war. We know that they are the first victims. And our intention is, of course, is to stop that carnage. That's the bottom line. I can tell you that the aid dynamic, there has been more aid that has flowed in. We know that there is an understanding that this dynamic is changing. But even within the midst of this war zone, more food has arrived. I believe the GHF numbers at this point, I was briefed on this morning, is close to 120 million meals. And of course, also, as we've discussed, nothing will ever be enough in a war zone. The war zone has to stop. It has to end. So that is our recognition here. Our posture has not changed. Our actions have not changed. And yet the situation is fluid, more so than in recent days. And so I would ask you to recognize that, and we're working within that framework.
And the UN and also many of your allies have been asking for an independent commission to investigate the killing of Palestinian journalists in Gaza, who reached now at 247, including 5 of our colleagues who were killed the day before. So why not supporting an independent commission, considering that Israel has failed every time to investigate the killing of journalists or doctors or teachers in Gaza?
Well, I would take issue with your premise here. To say that Israel every time has failed to do that is not true. We know that, again, this is a nation fighting a war with a terrorist group that have always used human shields, have used hospitals, have used schools. It's been just the worst example of the barbarity of human beings, if you can call them that. It's been shocking. For Donald Trump to make the commitment to end this would be a tremendous gift to the entire world, as you know, and that is our commitment. We also we call on our ally and partner Israel to investigate these situations. I do it from this podium, and the United States does it. We expect investigations, and for a sovereign nation to engage in that, and then we'll follow up on. We see what those results are, but they do investigate. That is one of the things that, unlike other dynamics in war, Israel has done that, and they're transparent about it. So I would say that as we are working on all of this to stop, we encourage Israel always, and they do so as one of our, again, stalwart allies. And I think that their background proves that, in fact, look, they were minding their own business on October 7th. They are constantly dealing with those kinds of attacks. This is a chance for everyone to be able to have a future that is different. That's what we're looking for. Yeah. Well, clearly, yeah. And I can't say for each situation because each one is different. But I know the goal here at the State Department and why I felt very comfortable working with the people in this building is that information is key, right? Is that knowing what's happening matters. That is your job as journalists. I respect that immensely. It keeps me centered. Knowing that we have to explain things or talk about them makes us view the news as it's coming up in a slightly different way. Makes us ask questions. That will never end. And so I trust that, well, I will be in some fashion asking the same questions. I know you will be as too. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you.
Andrea Mitchell, please. Andrea Mitchell.
Thank you so much, Tammy, and congratulations on your new adventure.
Thank you. That's what it will be, I'm sure.
And I have a couple of things to follow up on that. But,
yes.
First of all, do we have any update on what Ambassador Huckabee said would be 16 new distribution centers for food in Gaza? And as the U.S. tries to deal with two wars simultaneously as part of the challenge that the president is facing,
right.
With this summit, President Zelensky said today that after the overnight attacks, which were throughout his country, that there is evidence, as far as he's concerned, that President Putin is not committed to peace, but is committed to plans for a new offensive against Ukraine. So going into these negotiations, with what President Zelensky says is an imbalance in what is going on the battlefield right now, how does the president hope to try to get President Putin to abandon this commitment that seems obvious from the battlefield, day after day advancing?
Let me answer the first question about...
let me just maybe more precisely say, and accept a ceasefire.
First of all, we have nothing else to announce regarding the ambassador's remarks about the increase in sites for GHF. Of course, that would be welcome news, but when we see that we have more, we'll let you know. I'll remind you also that the president's not calling this a negotiation. He is not the one that asked for it. This is what, as I've equated to you before, his remarks were that this is to see what's happening, to see what's possible. So negotiation, I think, is certainly not the right word. How he expects to get to where he gets, I won't have details for you in that regard, but there's a reason why he's the one there and we aren't. He is clearly, the list that I read out to you regarding being the president of peace is an astounding one. Perhaps it's situations around the globe that just didn't interest other people. But for President Trump, everyone matters. He sees these dynamics, which his presence and the power of the United States is able to change, and he knows that. He has many tools in his tool chest. We know, of course, that he had remarked about secondary sanctions on those who are buying Russian oil. That's one thing of many that can happen. We know, of course, of NATO's commitment regarding defensive weapons and helping and assisting Ukraine. There's many things that are moving that should have an impact that President Trump, I don't know what his approach will be. What I do know is that I'm grateful that he's the president, that I'm able to be here, read to you a list of ceasefires and peace agreements, and know that he's meeting with Putin in regard to one of the most outrageous dynamics that we've experienced. I will also remind people that he has met alone with President Zelensky. He has met alone with European leaders. This is a man who is doing everything possible and fairly to get an end to this carnage.
Just a quick follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
There's been a lot written that by just granting Vladimir Putin, who has been charged with war crimes by people, by other countries around the world, by granting him a summit with the leader of the United States on U.S. soil, it's already a victory for Putin because he is the aggressor here and he has refused to agree to a ceasefire.
Andrea, this will be it. The president is not operating on what something might look like. He's operating on how to stop obscene carnage among innocent civilians in Ukraine, and that is he took some heat when he started talking to Putin, because Biden hadn't talked to him for 3 years. You don't make peace through performative actions or
All
theater.
right, we are going to
you make it by talking to people.
step back out of the
This is what he's committed
State Department briefing here. This is Brian Polson at the live desk, Wisconsin live desk here. It is, what is today, Tuesday, August 12th? Is that right? It feels like this week has already kind of flown by, as it's been a lot going on in the area since the heavy rains and historic flooding here in the Milwaukee area started on Saturday night into Sunday morning. It is right now about, what time do we have? It's 1:40, and any time now we're going to be hearing from Durante Matthews, who was in Wauwatosa, one of the hard-hit areas, and in particular, I think he's been around Hart Park. I don't know if you've seen any of the images from Hart Park. The football field in particular, where just a bunch of work was done. The turf is, it looks like an accordion. Has been stripped up. It was floating on the water and has been sort of crushed together. It's a lot of damage. It's very expensive, and it means that football teams this fall that play there, Tosa East, Tosa West, I think Marquette University High School, they're going to be looking for other places to play football this fall for certain. So he's going to be in that area. Obviously, that's just one of many things in the Hart Park area in downtown Wauwatosa that have been severely affected by the floods. While I wait for Durante, I want to show you just, by the way, this is not about me. I just happen to have, I'm going to share with you my experience. I think there's a lot of people who've had far worse experiences and are going through some really difficult turmoil right now. But I'm going to show you something real quick. This right here is a zoomed in image of my car and my oldest child's car. They're side by side. It's a Subaru Forester and a Toyota Camry. And this is in a driveway bump out that's right along a tree line next to my house. In the middle of the night, Saturday night into Sunday morning, the water rose. We're not near, by the way, mind you, we're not near a creek or a river or a stream. We are near a drainage outlet in the neighborhood. That's my garbage can floating in the middle of the driveway. There's the cars in the background. Water from the other side of that tree line rose several feet in a matter of a couple of hours and got just high enough. You can see it's about the bumper level. It was enough to intrude into both of those vehicles, about 4 inches of water. You can see this is kind of what it looked like when I finally got out to the car the next morning. It doesn't look that bad compared to some of the things we've seen, right? You've seen people's cars completely submerged in water. Mine, you can look at the debris on the outside that's from the water line. It was at about the 2-foot level. So a couple of feet of water, that is enough to get a car totaled. Water is really damaging, and it infiltrates everything. It reached the level of the electronic control module, and that was enough for the insurance company to say it's totaled. I want to give a shout out to Acuity Insurance, who has been very responsive. I can only imagine the inundation insurance companies are going through right now in the Milwaukee area. And actually, I want to play something else for you related to this. I showed you those images. If we can pull this up now, this is a video from a Ring camera on the outside of my house. There's the vehicles I told you about. Watch how, now this isn't video, these are snapshots in time taken over the course of the overnight. It never really tripped the Ring camera, but it takes photos every few minutes. Look at that water rise out of nowhere. There's no lake, there's no river. It just became a lake. I know it's grainy. This is a zoom in from a Ring camera, but you can see the water rise and fall. And by the time I woke up on Sunday morning, the water was gone. So I didn't even know this had happened. It actually came into my garage, which is right where you see that camera. If you imagine it coming that direction, that's where the water infiltrated into the garage about 4 inches. It disappears. By the time I get up, I don't know there's even been a flood. And then I go and check the cars and find water inside and go check the Ring camera and we see what happened. I bring this up to say it is not, if you think you can dry out your car, maybe you can. I'm being told by all the experts, once water gets in there, it is going to cause trouble. There's more and more in terms of electrical systems in vehicles now that are all over the car. Everything's digital, electronic, computerized. Causes real havoc with those systems. The carpet and the carpet padding, that's going to mold. So this is one of the reasons why they always say, make sure when you are buying a used car that you are not dealing with a car that's been involved in a flood, because no matter how much they clean that thing up, you could be seeing problems with corrosion and other things down the road. So I was hopeful. This is, by the way, I'm just going to share. I paid this car off in March. I wanted to keep this thing another 4 years. I'd like to have another few years of no car payments, but there's nothing you can do with water. It is damaging. And so insurance companies are getting overloaded right now with vehicle floods, with home flooding. And I know Jason Calvi, Fox 6's Jason Calvi is out and about today. He's working on a story right now to just help differentiate between homeowners insurance and flood insurance and what you need to know in that regard. Many people are finding out the hard way today. Their homeowners insurance is not going to cover some of this. We are going to take a break. We've got a lot more to come here this afternoon. We will hear a little later on from Stephanie Barrichello in our weather office about even more rain that came overnight and what's ahead here in the next couple of days. That and much more when we come back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. Durante Matthews is in Wauwatosa. We want to hear from him because I don't know if you've seen any of the images there, but just extraordinary what's happened with the water in downtown Wauwatosa and the Hart Park area. But we are having some technical issues right now here in the Live Desk booth, so we can't bring that up.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's 1:51 p.m. on Tuesday, August 12th, and we have Durante Matthews, who is in Wauwatosa. And I think it's one of the places we've seen some of the most extraordinary images, although there's a lot of extraordinary stuff coming out with all of this flooding. Let's see if we can get out to Durante now in Wauwatosa. Do we have Durante, Delaney? Let's see if I can. Yeah, I'm having a little. We're having more of those technical difficulties. This is live television, and I can't. I'm going to see if I can bring him up this way. If I do this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
The buttons are all jumbled, but I think I can bring him up here now. Can I? Nope. All right. Well, hey, guess what? This is live television, and I can see Durante right over here to my left. I can see he's standing there in a white shirt, all ready to talk to me. He can probably hear me too, but I have buttons that are all jumbled and don't seem to want to let me bring him up live. I wonder if I can do it this way. Let's see. No, I don't know if I can do it this way either. Folks, you're watching me try to figure this stuff out on the fly. I don't know. Does that help? That didn't do anything, did it? Nope. All right. Let's try. There, no, not that. All right. Well, I guess, folks, if we're going to talk to Durante, it's going to be a few minutes. I'm hoping we can get him in here to talk about what's going on in Wauwatosa. In addition to that, we are going to be at 2 o'clock, assuming we can resolve these difficulties, going to Germantown, where there is an update on everything that's been going on there. In addition to the deluge we got on Saturday night, another heavy round of rain came into Germantown overnight and into this morning and has caused flooding along the Menominee River. And one particular neighborhood, in fact, is being evacuated. It's at least a voluntary evacuation. Power out. This is in the area, if you shop in that area in Germantown, Menominee Falls along County Line Road, if you know where like the Cracker Barrel, well, I don't know if it's Cracker Barrel is back there, but I know that there's you know, Buffalo Wild Wings and a Starbucks and a McDonald's and a Panda Express. It's right along the north side of County Line Road. Just north of that, behind all of those restaurants, is this neighborhood. I think it's Rivers Bend condominium complex. They are evacuating people from that neighborhood. We'll get an update on what's going on with all of that, hopefully at 2 o'clock. But again, I am waiting for a resolution in terms of technical capabilities right now. And so, not that I like doing this all the time, but I think I'm going to try to take one more break and see if we can resolve this. Although, we'll see if it even lets me take a break. Let's find out. Or, I'm going to try one more thing. Durante, I don't know if you're listening. I have one button that looks like it could. Oh, hey, I think that's Durante. Okay, so Durante is now not available for me. All right, well, I gave it a shot. That's okay. As I said, sometimes things like this happen at the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll take one more break and try to resolve all of this when we come back after this.
Many others, including at this podium, calling for more people to participate in this process.
Just a quick follow-up, if you allow me. The White House said that they inherited this Gaza war from the Biden administration and so on, and that Hamas just refuses whatever suggestion that's been submitted to it. Is this an indication that the administration is actually pulling its hand out of and being involved in any future negotiations?
No, I think it's an indication of a transparent government that shares things with the American people in the world when it comes to their opinion. President Trump has been the best example of that. And then we're watching the nature of the choices they make. It's clear with Ambassador Huckabee and Special Envoy Witkoff, that visit, the nature of the president's continued remarks are remaining in play in that region when it comes to stopping the carnage, getting the ceasefire, ending all of this, enough to where people do begin to wonder, all right, what's next? Now, we're not going to wonder about that until the carnage ends, but the fact that for the first time in generations, people are asking, what is next? What can we do? Who will be in charge? How is that going to look? Now, we're not going to engage in that or answer it, but the fact that it can be asked tells you how far President Trump has moved this motion here. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Bruce. First of all, my congratulations on your new job. I believe that your new role at UN will make America great again.
It will hopefully make the UN great again.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a great institution.
From Azerbaijan. First of all, as an Azerbaijani journalist, I want to sincerely thank the United States and its leader to all the efforts they have made to bring peace to the South Caucasus. On August 8th at the White House, the U.S. helped Azerbaijan and Armenia sign a historic peace agreement, and President Ilham Aliyev has even suggested that President Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in this achievement. Can you please share the State Department's view on this new peace situation in the South Caucasus? Because Russia and Iran have made statements showing they do not support this peace plan, and even some Iranian officials have said that they will try to stop this Trump corridor, Trump route. What will the United States do if Russia or Iran try to block or sabotage this new peace route?
Well, as you, I think, know, I'm not going to speculate on what we may or may not do with certain actions.
All right. Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson back here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. We've worked through some of those technical difficulties, and Germantown is now underway with that news conference. We want to take you out there. Now let's see if we can get you set up, and we're going to go to Germantown to hear what is going on with the latest in the flooding in that community.
When they'll be able to get back into their homes? We're waiting for some assessments from the utilities.
That's today, right?
That was from today, yes.
And so far, one person, one reported fatality has been.
Yes, yesterday.
Do we know for sure the cause yet, or is that still being investigated?
Still being investigated this time.
Did that happen in this neighborhood?
The fatality?
Yeah.
Yes. It happened in this complex, not on the specific street that's flooded.
Got it. Okay. And you think that was likely due to carbon monoxide from a generator?
That is the assessment that we're going with right now, but it has not been confirmed.
So just to clarify, the person whose injury that you just announced now is separate from the one that you had talked about this morning.
That is correct.
Two injuries, one fatality.
That's correct.
Can you tell us what the injury to your firefighter was?
He is still being evaluated by EMS, and I was not briefed on what his exact injury was at this time.
I'll keep going.
Okay.
I'm not trying to hog it. Tell us, can you give us an update on the pump station and the pumping away from the flows to MMSD right here?
The pumping operation that we have to keep water from entering the regional sewer system has been successful. It has stayed out of it at this point in time. We are just still pumping to make sure that it stays safe and continues to work.
I'm not trying to doomsday scenario it, but what happens if the pumping fails?
If the pumping fails, it could ultimately end up backing up into residences.
Across Germantown or just in this area?
Across some of Germantown.
And that's not already happening? There's no sewage backup?
There is no sewage backup right now because of this.
Now, regarding the high school where many evacuees are being taken to, do we know if that will be set up as a shelter? I know we were out there earlier and they were saying that it's a staging area right now.
We are not anticipating it being a shelter.
Okay.
Do you know how
Last count we had was 6 people there.
Just to touch back on this one more time.
Sure.
So if people coming home now see this and they're like, why is it just going back into the street and circulating back here? What do you tell to them?
Ultimately, it's getting sprayed into the street so the water can re-enter the Menominee River further downstream and continue with its process down to its ultimate destination of Lake Michigan.
How long do you expect people in this neighborhood to not be able to get back into their homes?
We are not restricting them from going back into their homes. However, the area is being secured by the police department, and people entering the area will have to prove that they are residents to get back to their homes.
But you would suggest?
We would suggest staying away until the water has receded.
And is there a guess on that?
Institutional knowledge tells me it usually takes 3 to 4 days for the water to recede. However, the last time we had any major flooding of this type was around 1997, and a lot has changed since then.
With the river, with the wetlands, with more people, what?
All of the above.
And you mentioned this earlier, at least a little bit. It's rising here because of the ponds in the area, correct? The runoff. Can you explain that a little better?
The headwaters for the Menominee River are in the northeastern section of the village of Germantown. So all of the runoff that happens from all the fields and properties and roads ultimately end up in the Menominee River. So as the northern lands drain, it enters the river, which causes the river to swell until it comes to a point of congestion, which would be a bridge, which is right here on County Line Road, that caused the river to further overrun its banks, causing the flooding. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Germantown Fire Chief John Delane talking about the flooding in Germantown, in particular in the Rivers Bend neighborhood. This is between I-41 and Appleton Avenue, north of County Line Road along the Menominee River. We heard the fire chief there say that they are doing some pumping now to pump water that goes a little further downstream, will enter the river further downstream and hopefully alleviate any kind of sewage backups into those families' homes. He said there were no sewer backups at this time, at least not due to that particular issue, but he said that is something that could happen later if the pump were to fail. He also said, he talked about the one death they have talked about in that same community there, that condominium complex, not on that exact very street, but that there was a death that was attributed to carbon monoxide, where a generator was left running in someone's garage. And I think it's important to point out, Germantown said, get your generator out of the garage. It's not safe. And we know that that's true. You should never run a generator inside an enclosed space like that because of the risk of carbon monoxide buildup. But they said move them outside, and that's fine when it's dry. If it's raining, you need to be careful. You want to make sure you have a cover or something that protects the generator from rain, especially heavy rain or extended periods of rain. Many generators are built to withstand a certain amount of that, but you just don't want to leave a generator out in the open rain without any protection. There is potentially still some more rain this afternoon, although it looked like things in Germantown during that news conference we're doing just fine. It's 2:08 here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. I am Brian Polson. I want to apologize for anyone who's been along for some of the technical errors or issues we've been dealing with here, but we seem to have gotten all that ironed out. What we do have coming up, it looks like they're setting up for a news conference outside of Milwaukee City Hall, where the Milwaukee Department of Public Works is going to be talking about updates in its flood recovery and cleanup efforts ever since Saturday night and into Sunday morning. So I see the microphones at the podium. They're going to be planning to bring you some new information on that in a little bit. And in a few minutes, depending on the timing of that, we may also check back in with Fox 6 meteorologist and weather expert Stephanie Barrichello to talk about what we've seen so far and what's still to come this week. There is certainly some relief on the way, at least in the next couple of days, in the way of dry weather and sunshine, at least for the middle portion of this week. If you're looking to dry out, looking to see some of these rivers recede, that is obviously welcome news. but I don't know that we're completely out of the woods yet today. There may still be a little bit of rain, so we may check in with Stephanie on that. We didn't get a chance to talk to Durante Matthews. We know he's out in Wauwatosa looking at some of the damage, in particular to Hart Park, so keep an eye out for that on Fox 6 News at 4, 5, and 6. That will be coming up a little bit later on today. We know we had Abril who's out there in Germantown. She'll bring the latest details on that as well a little bit later on. In terms of other things that are going on today, one thing that is sort of on the more positive side, of course, is the Milwaukee Brewers, winners of 10 in a row, and for the second time this summer, they're making George Webb chefs a little nervous. George Webb, with its 12 wins in a row, you get free burgers. Well, they're 2 wins away, but they got a tough assignment tonight. Also, let's take a look. Here you go. When is the last time the Brewers had that 12-game streak? Well, it's been a long time. Well, it's been 7 years. I mean, 2018 is long enough time. 1987 before that. But this is the second time this year. I don't know, I can't remember the last time the Brewers came within a game of this and then came just a few weeks later within 2 games of it. They've got a tough assignment tonight, and they're going to be doing it without Jacob Misiorowski, who is currently on the injured list, though mostly I think they're just managing his innings so that he's got some, something in the tank left late in the season for a playoff run. But obviously it's an exciting time for the Brewers. Not maybe quite as exciting news here, but it's not as bad as it sounds at first. I'm going to tell you, Packers fans, don't spit out your coffee if I say this. Jordan Love undergoing a procedure on his thumb. It's his non-throwing hand, but there is apparently a ligament issue. It's going to keep him out for at least a week. He is not going to take any more snaps this preseason. Is that going to affect how Love and the Packers come out when they have a really tough assignment in week 1 with the Detroit Lions? Well, that remains to be seen, but it seems like this is one of the situations where this thing is developing with the non-throwing hand and they think, get it taken care of, knocked out now, so it's not a problem later. He wasn't really going to take all that many snaps in the preseason anyway, but he won't be taking those reps in practice or anything like that either. So we'll see how that affects things as they head into the season. So that's your news with the Brewers. That's your news with the Packers. Obviously, a lot of what's going on right now, the sports has really just been a distraction. And it was pretty remarkable the other night to see a near sellout crowd show up to American Family Field, just filling the stadium all the way up into the 4th level when the parking lot was mostly flooded and inaccessible. Brewers fans are engaged right now. This city is excited. This is, I think you'd hear many people use the word, a magical time to be a Milwaukee Brewers fan. For that many people to come to a baseball game at a time when the community is really struggling with the aftermath of this historic flooding says a lot about, 1, the excitement level of the team, the product that's being put on the field, but 2, I think the desire for a positive distraction. Obviously, it's been a pretty tough time. It all started on Saturday night and almost seemed to come out of nowhere as radar showed. Certainly there was plenty of rain forecast, but that evening, Saturday evening, there really wasn't much on radar to the southwest, and out of nowhere a monster of red showed up on radar, and it just never relented, and we ended up with obviously a long, long night of rain and more rain and more rain, and just left us where we are today. Still waiting for them to take the podium in Milwaukee, so we are going to take a quick break. We'll have more here at the Wisconsin Live Desk right after this.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
And Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson here. We have Mayor Johnson at the podium. Let's hear what he has to say.
Safe as we continue the recovery efforts and cleanup here in Milwaukee after the floods. Now, if you need a special pickup, particularly for those large, bulky items that you may be discarding in our neighborhoods, please use our Click for Action connection on the city's webpage. Again, Click for Action is right there on the city's webpage. Please use that. There is another option for folks to be able to call that in as well. That's to 414-286-CITY. That's 414-286-2489. But do be cautious, though, that because of the extreme call volumes that we're receiving, you might have to wait a little bit when you're using the telephone option. So, again, two options. You can call, but you can also just get the information in by going on the city's website and using our Click for Action option. I can also tell you that we're collecting data in support of a federal disaster declaration. So if members of the public share information about damage to their property, that can help out actually in our application. So if you have damage to your property, please make sure you report that. Please make sure you share that. It'll be useful in our application for our federal disaster declaration. And you can do that simply by calling 211. Now I'm joined as well by the Commissioner of Public Works, Gerald Kruschke, as well as the City Librarian, Joan Johnson, and they'll share some updates from their respective departments as well. So first I'll have my Commissioner of Public Works, Gerald Kruschke, come up.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gerald Kruschke, Commissioner of Public Works. Thank you for being here today as we continue to update the community on our response after this weekend's historic flooding. First, I want to announce that we've had a great increase in the number of folks that went to our drop-off centers yesterday on Monday. Because we've seen that the public is really interested, we're deciding to extend our drop-off center hours until 6 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We generally close at 3, but we're trying to give those folks who work first shift an opportunity to access our drop-off centers. To give them a little more flexibility, so it's an extra 3 hours every day. We do want to remind folks when they're using our self-help centers that our DPW staff is on hand, but it's to help direct traffic and get you to the right bins. It is up to the actual resident themselves to load into these dumpsters, but we want to make sure people are cautious. There's wet, heavy items, which they probably take out of their basements, to put in there. Just use caution when you're doing that. There's a lot of folks that are accessing the drop-off centers, so it is quite busy. We've seen extended lines for a couple hours, and we understand that. We're trying to move people through as fast as possible. Again, we just want to make sure that the public knows that this is a free service. We are not charging, and we will at least be doing this through Sunday. We do want to let people know that if you do have electronics, we do not accept those at the curbside, but we will accept those at the drop-off centers. To make it easier on yourselves, if you can separate those electronic items when you come into the drop-off center to speed up the process, it would be much appreciated. In addition to the drop-off centers, the special curbside bulk pickup is ongoing throughout the city. If you place bulk items at your regular garbage collection point, and you call in, we will be able to pick those up. We understand there are some stuff that has been out there for 2 days already. We are trying to prioritize the city in the hardest hit areas. I've had many conversations with our elected officials on folks that are adjacent to waterways that have extreme damage. We're talking about hundreds of homes and stretches. We're trying to focus on those areas first. So if you're walking around your community, you see about 30 or 40 folks in your area, we will get to you. We're just trying to prioritize those were hit first. Just like the mayor said, we're trying to prioritize people using the online click for action opportunities because the call lines are a little backed up right now. We've had over 1,000 calls for service. As of today, we have multiple crews, at least 12 skid crews going through blocks. We will be updating our social media pages. You can see before and after pictures of our folks actively working. But we just want folks to be patient because the city, across the city as a whole, was hit pretty hard. I do want to note that last night we did have another another inch of rain that hit the city. It did affect our forestry crews. We did have about 100 service calls as of this morning for trees downed in the right-of-way. So not only do we have our sanitation crews that are taxed, we do have our forestry crews that were impacted last night. If you do see a tree down as of today, please use the call center Click for Action app and let us know that we're there. We're also dealing with a large number of street lighting outages. We talk about this on a yearly spring basis, but right now the ground is saturated to a level where it's impacting. We have over 60 street lighting outages, and we're working around the clock to try to get those up and running. As the ground thaws out, or I shouldn't say thaws out, as it dries out, you'll start to see lights come on, but our electrician crews have been pulled all over to actually get street lights on as quick as possible. So we apologize for the delay in some of those services. Finally, I want to once again urge residents to keep reporting storm-related events. I know sometimes the call waits could be 30 minutes, but those type of calls are helping us navigate where we can put our folks in the field. Please use 286 City, please use Click for Action as a portal, and then use the MKE mobile app. We want to remind everyone, with the unprecedented rain and flooding, that the event has caused significant damage across the city. I know when you look outside your windows, you may see a lot, you may see a little, but across the city there's 96.2 square miles that we have to deal with, and it has affected nearly everyone. Our teams are prioritizing the hardest hit areas, as I mentioned, but just be patient. Help out your neighbors and let us know. We want to thank you for your patience and your continued support. I'm going to now hand it over to Joan Johnson to give some updates on the library.
Thank you, Gerald. Good afternoon. I wanted to share with you that 6 of our library locations were affected by the weekend storms, and 3 are still closed to the public, and that includes the Villard Square branch on the north side, the Bayview branch on the south side, and from this morning's storm, the east branch now on the east side, near east side. 3 suffered water-related damage to our building systems. Our infrastructure, such as HVAC and fire safety systems, were taken out by the Sunday storm, and then others were suffering from power outages and network outages. 2 of these locations require long-term system replacements. That would be Villard and Bayview. So those 2 locations are closed now until further notice. We are working really closely with the city police and fire departments to make sure that the buildings are safe in the meantime. There were also 3 impacted areas at the Central Library. 2 areas saw water leaking into the first and second floor public areas. But I'm very happy to share that although we had Capitol Branch closed yesterday due to flooding, we were able to reopen the Capitol Branch this afternoon. It's open its normal hours from 12 until 8 today. And the good news is that we do have 10 other branches that people can use. So every branch has a nearby branch that patrons can go to. And please, if you have materials that you were hoping to pick up from a location that's closed, please work with our staff to try to find another source in the system for something that you were hoping to pick up that you might have had on hold at one of the closed branches. And please keep checking our website for further updates. We will continue to keep people informed as this situation continues to unfold. Our website is www.mpl.org. Thank you so much.
Right, thank you, Joan. Thank you, Gerald. As was mentioned, this widespread damage that's happened throughout the city, affecting citizens certainly, but also affecting city government functions as well. So we'll continue to work around the clock as our city agencies have been in order to address the issue and get services running back online for folks in Milwaukee. With that, we'll take a couple questions.
I wonder, you said that the city is collecting that data to support a federal disaster declaration. How close is the city to actually being able to meet those benchmarks for that declaration?
We're working on that. As a matter of fact, I was joined yesterday by Governor Evers, who was assessing some of the damage here in Milwaukee. They're collecting that information, and my hope is that very soon they'll be able to get that over to the appropriate federal agencies in order to start providing some relief to citizens in Milwaukee.
Here you talked about the importance of people reporting. Does that disaster aid depend on people reporting? People don't call it in, we don't get it. You have to quantify everything. Explain to us the balance.
I don't think it's everything. I think it's a certain dollar amount that you're aiming for. So you'll see people out that are in particular neighborhoods across Milwaukee trying to ascertain the level of damage. Then when you meet a certain threshold, then I think you're able to unlock those dollars, as far as I understand. This is all new to us. This is, as I mentioned the other day, the first time this has happened in Milwaukee in quite some time.
Can you walk through
Yeah, you certainly call 211. I think they'll help you to walk through what it is that you need to do, talk about the damage that has happened to your property. I think at some point you probably have to make sure that there's pictures or some other form that's filled out, but certainly calling 211 is the first course of action. So that's what I would lead people to, and they can help you to figure out the rest, but certainly call 211 to make sure you report that. We can document it, and it helps, again, our application for disaster declaration.
Mayor, what about immediate needs? We've seen a lot of homes that have foundations washed away. Talk about money that may help down the line.
Mayor Cavalier Johnson outside City Hall right now giving an update on the latest efforts by the city to respond to this major flooding disaster, unprecedented really in the city of Milwaukee. Certainly not something we've seen for a very long time. We heard the mayor talking about obviously overall the response. We heard Jarrell Kruschke from Department of Public Works saying that they have received more than 1,000 calls for service so far since this happened on Saturday night into Sunday morning. And just today, after another round of storms came through, 100 calls to the Forestry Department for trees blocking roadways or trees that are down that need to be cleared. They do recommend that if you have an issue, if you need government assistance, public works assistance, they want you to go to the city website, and he kept calling it a click for action, which if you look right there in the middle of your screen, there are buttons that are right there front and center. If you go to the City of Milwaukee, just Google City of Milwaukee, and you'll find this website. You can see that you can click for DPW information and resources. You can click for health department information and flash flood safety tips. You can also, of course, call 211. One other thing they mentioned that I think is very useful and helpful for those in the city is you can go to these, if you're in the city of Milwaukee, if you are a resident, you can go to these drop-off centers where you can take obviously various types of waste. You can take them, they're going to be open until 6 p.m. Now, they're usually closing at 3 in the afternoon. Open till 6, he said, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I don't know if that meant today as well. I don't know if I heard him say Tuesday. That would be today. I presume it includes today. But they are going to be open extra time for that. Also, they indicated this is a free service. Is going to remain free, and there is bulky item pickup. Larger items that are flood damaged can be placed at the curb. They'll pick those up for free. City of Milwaukee will, I think, through August 17th. So right now, if you are in the city of Milwaukee and you have a lot of stuff you've got to get rid of, now's the time to do it. The city is obviously responding to this as the emergency that it is. We also heard that the public library, 3 branches are closed. That's the Village Square branch, Bayview, and now today another one, East Branch. They are currently closed after having sustained damage during the flooding. So much going on. Obviously, there's still a lot more to come. The fallout from this historic 1,000-year flood in the city of Milwaukee. Thank you for being here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. We will be back again tomorrow at 12:30 until 2:30. Obviously, you can watch all the latest updates on Fox 6 News at 4, 5, and 6. With that, I am Fox 6 investigator Brian Polson. I want to thank you for being along here today, and we'll talk to you again coming up the next time. Hope you stay dry. Hope that you and yours are doing well, and we'll see you next time.
Hey there, good evening. It is the Fox 6 Sports Blitz. We are not hurting at all for things to talk about. Lily Zow's here, Tim Van Voort, Brandon Cruz off one more Sunday night. He'll be back with us again next week as we roll on with the Blitz, and we are going to have things to talk about, it seems like, to roll on for sure. No question about it. Here is the Fox 6 Sports Blitz starting lineup. The crew cuts down a couple of teams from the NL East, supposedly beasts from the East. Murphy's men showing no signs of slowing down. How about the Packers? One of their guys makes us say what, and then the team makes their coach and their fans say yuck. Preseason debut out there, dubious debut for sure for the Green Bay Packers. Our latest high school hotshot is ready to jump into things at the next level. And we are ready to roll on as we talk about the Milwaukee Brewers.
I mean, it's the best environment. I've been here 10 years. That's the best environment that I've seen. I mean, it's the best environment. I don't know if we added seats or something. I don't really pay attention too much up there, but I don't know what we did, but it just seems louder, wilder. Yeah, and I think it needs to continue.
Well, I don't know if it needs to continue. Maybe it will continue because everything is falling into place for these Milwaukee Brewers. Lily, you were out there today. Let's just pick up on what Pat Murphy had to say there. How was the atmosphere? How loud was it? And how crazy was yet another win? Now 9 in a row for these guys.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, what else can you say about the Brewers? But to address your question, I mean, I know there was a lot going on with everybody in the state of Wisconsin around Milwaukee because of all the flooding, but 33,000 Brewers fans made their way to the ballpark when all was said and done to support their team on a Sunday afternoon and watch them win 9 straight games. So many kudos to the fans out there. Pat Murphy talked about how electric that crowd was as they watched Isaac Collins with his first career walk-off winner. I mean, the crowd pop, Tim, was incredible. There's been a lot of crowd pop this week.
That's the latest crowd pop.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch, and a guy that is on such a heater right now. I mean, reigning NL Rookie of the Month, and he is doing it so well. And it's just fun to watch this Brewers team win in so many different ways. They can beat you with the bat, beat you with the walk-up homer, beat you with the defense, beat you with the pitching. They're a deep team, Tim.
Yeah, I think that they are a deep team, and I love this shot of Alex Collins right here. Doesn't that just kind of sum things up for the team and the fans right now? Just smile and enjoy the ride. Here it goes and continues. And as you said, there have been a lot of pops this week. Dramatic win on Saturday. Dramatic wins on the road, too. Rallies this week for this baseball team. You keep thinking it's going to end. George Webb probably thinks it's going to end. They're threatening 12 in a row again.
They are. And again, I think they're the only team in the majors this season with 3 8+ winning streaks. So, I mean, what this Brewers team has been able to do has been spectacular. And it feels like even if they're down 5 runs, which they were today, they find ways to win. They never quit. And that is what is so important. These traits are so important for a team that wants to go deep this postseason and win a World Series. They have the belief that no matter how much they are down, they can come back and win. And they really showed the resolve today.
We have up on the screen this Brewers magic. Kind of feels that way sometimes, does it not?
It really does. It just seems that, you know, a little bit of something goes right for the Brewers and they capitalize on the next play, right? So Blake Perkins reaches first, Turang homers after. Contreras comes back with a pitch timer violation, gets another shot at the plate, and boom, what do you know? A 2-run homer, Brewers in charge 7-4. So it feels like just a little bit of that Brewers magic certainly helps this team, but they are capitalizing off other teams' mistakes.
Absolutely. Let's look at the Blake Perkins throw. This is the second time in the last few years that some guy has thrown out somebody at the plate to end the game. It's been Blake Perkins each time.
I mean, how incredible, right? Did it last June and does it this weekend. I mean, the accuracy on that throw to get it to William Contreras, who can turn in, 0.1 second to get the tag. I mean, the laser and the velocity on that throw from Blake Perkins was incredible. And he talked about, you could just see the smile on his face after he made that play. And it was kind of a carbon copy of what he did last year, but if it's not broke, don't fix it, and that's what he's doing.
That's a money play if you're in the third inning. What are you talking about? 2 outs in the ninth, and it wins the baseball game for you. Look at the standings. Brewers just looking down on everybody else. Cubs lose tonight, so they just continue to slide there in the division. None of this is over, let's face it. There's still plenty of baseball left, but look at the gap the Brewers have for the rest of baseball.
And these are good teams.
Yes, they are.
The Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, I mean, these are really, really good teams. And the Brewers are just, they keep on winning. And again, you look at their run differential. They're able to do it in so many different ways, but they're beating the big money teams like, you know, the Dodgers and the Cubs and the Phillies and the Mets.
And one of the biggest reasons why they're able to keep doing this is because their pitchers continue to hold them in games. You don't give up 8 runs very often. So you're in games, and then those close plays that you talked about, those little things can get you over the top. Quinn Priester today finally had a bit of a rough outing. 5 runs, that's a big deficit for this baseball team. Brewers come back to win it. Brandon Woodruff the other night, yet another strong start. Remember when he was a bit of a wild card just coming back from injury, Lily? He's been not only more than just a wild card, he's been a sure thing.
He really has been, and this is what I like about Brandon Woodruff. Despite giving up 2 early solo home runs to the Mets, he settles down. He doesn't let it affect him, and he goes out there and he gets the job done. Had 8 strikeouts that night, just was working the zone very well, and he's just, you know, giving the Brewers team a chance to win. He does it every single time he's out. They are undefeated when Brandon Woodruff does take the mound. So Mr. Steady does it again for the Brewers. and he is what this team needs in that starting rotation.
Let's just look down the list and see who's having a bad year for the Brewers, and I'm still going down, 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 down. I'm not finding anybody.
1 through 9.
Anybody comes in, he does the job, whether that's a position player, as you said, whether it's somebody in the starting rotation, even somebody filling in. Tobias Myers, okay, does okay this week. And Shelby Miller now is acquired, and he makes his Brewers debut, and guess what? He's effective.
He is 4 up, 4 down, no runs earned. That's what you want from a reliever. Again, comes back in, his first big league start in about a month. So he's coming back from that forearm injury. So it's nice to see him back on the mound, making his debut for the Brewers, and does his job in relief. And that's exactly what you want in a guy that you bring in to do that.
The Brewers got him at the trade deadline, basically paying the Diamondbacks to allow Miller to come here, and he could be a key player going down the stretch here. Bryce Terang had a big week.
Certainly did.
Andrew, I guess pick a name, but no, we'll go with Bryce Terang.
Yeah, Bryce Terang. I mean, a guy that can get on base so effectively, comes in today, pinch hits in the 8th inning, draws a walk. I mean, he does it in so many different ways to just get on base. Has found his home run swing, a guy that you can really rely on the plate outside of his defense, which we know is phenomenal. So again, it's just 1 through 9, and no matter who Pat Murphy plugs in there, they find a way to get on base and get runs, put the ball in play, and play defense. I mean, they're just a well-rounded team.
You want to recue your comments there on Andrew Vaughn? Because it applies the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. Again, on a heater. You expect him to get at least a hit every single game. He continues to deliver, and that's what I think gives this Brewers team some calm. When you know that you have your reliable hitters in your lineup every single day, and they will deliver. That's what makes this team so good. And even today, without Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang, Christian Yelich, your normal hitters in that lineup to start the game, the other guys behind him still get hits.
And I think as we're doing this list of everybody who's doing well, Matt Arnold's on that list.
Absolutely.
Brewers general manager. Certainly Pat Murphy's on that list. And how about this Brewers coaching staff, too? The work Matt Erickson's done with these infielders who've made in-season improvement. Jason Lane there with the right calls at third base. Charlie Green has had continuous catching success back there with these guys. Julio Barbone. A lot of these guys, the bullpen coaches for sure, and Chris Hook. Oh. My goodness, I'm undoubtedly omitting somebody here as you go down this list. But if the players are all doing their job, guess what? The support staff and coachings are too.
Yeah, the hitting coaches, everybody up and down the lineup is doing their job, and that's why they're the best team in baseball.
That's our Brewers talk.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not the end of the Fox 6 Sports Blitz, though. There's always more coming up.
What is it when you're the lead of the parade? What do they call you?
Isthmus.
Antsiness or
whatever the word is.
You know, I never knew that. You learn something new every day.
We made a bet, and Green Bay won the Super Bowl, and that's when it became my team. Nazir was still playing in Little League.
Yeah, I was
he was
playing
still
hardball.
playing Little League when I became a Packers fan. And now my first jersey will be coming from my son, a Packer.
Welcome back to the Fox 6 Sports Blitz. That's what you love about the preseason, right, Tim? You have undrafted rookies like Nazir Stackhouse on the phone with his mom in the locker room after the game, and he is as giddy as can be.
And she was talking on and on. Then we continued our interview
Yeah.
with Nazir. She was still talking, and later on he's still talking to her on the phone there. So fun stuff. Wasn't a very impressive performance by the Packers, but there are takeaways. That's something you can't help but take away and smile at.
That's one of the positives from last night's Packers' first preseason game. Let's talk about it before we get into the nitty-gritty of it. Listen, it wasn't a good performance by the Packers up and down their roster. Is there anything to make of that, or do you say it's just the preseason game, or is there a concern with how bad they looked on Saturday?
They didn't look good at all. You can talk about effort and energy and will and those sorts of things that matter more when you're playing vanilla schemes in the preseason. And I think you could look at those things and raise an eyebrow and wonder what's going to happen the rest of this preseason. Matt LaFleur came out and started his media availability after the game with how bad this was and disappointing, and you can't do this no matter what time of year. And then later in the press conference, he's asked, so was this so bad you're going to make any changes this week about your plans? He's, well, no, not really. So, I mean, I think that gives you an answer to your question right there.
Exactly. And again, there was a lot to improve on. So let's get into it, right? Jordan Love, wondering if the starters would play, plays 2 series, 1 for 5 passing, the sack. I mean, is there anything that Jordan Love could glean out of 2 short series when the offense doesn't even sniff the red zone?
Yeah, I don't think so. They didn't do much of anything. Maybe they're working a little bit on timing. Right at the end there, I wrote down the one play. He runs, he passes, he stops, he throws the ball. Don't get hurt. That's what you're looking at right there. If you're anybody in the stadium, if you're the Packers coaches, you see that and you say, okay, this doesn't really matter. We'd like to be making nice plays and highlight shows, but this doesn't really matter. Have everybody ready for when it starts in September.
Absolutely. And I think Jordan Love during that play was thinking, oh, I can make something happen, but wait, it's the preseason. Let me not get hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the one guy that caught a pass from Jordan Love was Matthew Golden. I think there was a lot of excitement to see what he would look like out on the field, and he has some sure hands.
Yes, and he's a promising player. He's had a very good training camp to this point. It's nice to see him do it in game action because that's a credit to Matthew Golden. Let's point that out. But there are a couple of other guys who've gotten all kinds of pub through training camp, Lily, who were dreadful in the game against the Jets, who may have cost themselves their roster spots, which were almost inked in by a lot of people based on what we'd seen so far in training camp. And maybe we'll get into them, but Isaiah Simmons certainly would be one, and McCole Hardman would be another.
And we will certainly get into those guys. And yeah, during the preseason, guys can kind of fight themselves out of a roster spot. And you can see kind of their performances on Saturday being the first of hopefully not many bad performances. But so let's go to Malik Willis now. He played the majority of the game. Matt LaFleur gave all 4 quarterbacks a chance to play in this game. But Malik Willis, kind of a mixed bag there. Strip sack, fumble, made some nice plays. But again, what you take away from how he did?
Well described on the mixed bag. I think that's what it was. He did some things well on the strip sack at the goal line. It looked to me like he was just holding the ball way too long. He had some opportunities there. I kept waiting for him to pull the trigger once or twice, and then finally the ball got knocked away behind him and it turns into a touchdown for the Jets.
And he might get the bulk of the reps against the Colts in their second preseason game. Now, I'm kind of getting some deja vu, Tim.
Okay.
And what I mean is drop passes. Is it the 2024 season? Because there were quite a few drop passes from some reliable receivers and some new receivers in this game.
And that's where you have a concern, as you asked about earlier. Okay, we're not trying to do the fanciest things, but if you're a wide receiver or a running back, you should be able to catch the football, right? Any quarterback should put it somewhere where you can catch the football. And that didn't happen very well last night. Everybody will forget all this stuff if we don't see it throughout the regular season. But if you do see it throughout the regular season, you'll say, well, we saw it in the preseason, and we saw it too much last season, too.
And how much do you think Matt LaFleur is kicking himself for the amount of penalties this team had? It, again, was a recurring theme last season. I know it's early. It's the first preseason game. Things get sloppy, but a majority of those 7 penalties came from offensive linemen.
Offensive line, no question about it. In the third quarter after the first Sean Clifford series, the guys come off the field. Luke Betkus, the offensive line coach, gathered them up right away and was directly in the face of 2 interior linemen in particular. Jacob Monk and Donovan Jennings. And then Matt LaFleur circled back around and got into that and was into those guys' faces. Now, it's easier to do that in the preseason with some backup players, but Matt LaFleur doesn't do that, go over and call out guys to their face on the sidelines. The Packer coaches didn't like what was going on, and penalties had a lot to do with it.
It really did, and learn lessons for these guys in the preseason. Get these things out now before the regular season does begin. And the starting defense, maybe work some kinks out there as well. Justin Fields and that Jets offense, albeit just one opening drive, they kind of took it to the Packers starting defense, minus 2 starting guys in the secondary.
And I think the Jets had a lot more to gain last night than the Packers do, right? You have a new coaching staff there. You try to say, we have this new quarterback, we've got Justin Fields, we're going to do this. They came into it trying to make a statement, get some positive momentum. They accomplished that. Now it's Daniel Jones and the Colts next time the Packers play a game.
Yeah, and let's get to the defense on that side as well. McCole Hardman, you mentioned him earlier. You can play yourself out of a roster spot. I think he was supposed to be a guaranteed returner for the Packers this season, a 3-time Pro Bowler or a Super Bowl winner and a veteran receiver and returner, but did not have a good debut for the Packers.
I don't know that this is insurmountable for him. I guess we'll wait and see. It was not a good game at all. If you're a veteran, sure-handed player, experienced, that sort of thing, you shouldn't make 2 bad decisions on 2 punt returns and drop a pass. This is a clear drop here by Hardman out to the left. You only have so many opportunities. I don't care if you're a veteran or an undrafted rookie. You need to do something positive with those opportunities. And if it comes down to a veteran or an undrafted rookie and you're both making similar, building similar resumes, the Packers have shown they'll keep the young player.
They certainly will. And one last thing I do want to add, though, Jaden Reed is in a boot. Concerns him?
Well, Matt LaFleur said it's a concern. If you have a player this time of year who's concerned, who you are wondering about physically, there you see the boot on the left leg. That would be a concern for his availability once the game's gone.
Yeah, and hopefully he will be back in no time for the Packers. We shall wait and see. All right, meanwhile, in IndyCar, Alex Palou clinched the season series title today, making this his 4th championship in 5 years. Next on the schedule, Palou takes on the Milwaukee Mile in a race you can watch right here on Fox 6. He already has a win this year in the state at Road America. We're going to go beyond the game with Palou tomorrow as well. Tim, you've got a great story on that. We'll be right back. With our high school hot shot. Welcome back. He's been jumping his entire life and competing on the biggest of stages at both the state and national levels. Here's this week's Fox 6 High School Hot Shot.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm Jelani Hervey, attended Rufus King High School. I run track.
That's what's carrying you.
Coach Moose is a legend. He has worked with NCAA D1 champions. I knew he could turn me into like this machine, this excellent long jumper. I can see it coming. I never knew that I was going to jump 24 feet. Without him, none of this would be happening right now.
So, one more rep?
Yep. All right. I started this journey when I was 3 years old. At one meet, I tried long jump, and I said, hey, Mom, can you tell me a little bit more about long jump? She was like, sure, you know, breaking down the sport, not just sending me off to meets and just having me jump. She was definitely a long jumper. You guys can see where I get that from. Me and my mom, we're like a dynamic duo with this when it comes to long jump. We can talk about it all day. My first jump at state, it was a 23-1, and then on my 5th jump, I broke the school record. I jumped 24-1.5, which was massive. It's actually insane to jump 24 feet in high school, so I'm very grateful for that. I'm going to Alabama State University in Montgomery, Alabama, so I'm getting my Bachelor's of Science. I want to be a physical therapist, going in as an incoming freshman as their 2nd best long jumper. I love dogs. If you see me somewhere and someone has a dog, I'm always on the floor rolling around with them and stuff. I'm a big time video gamer, you know, the NBA 2K, Fortnite, Call of Duty games. I like a lot of old school music. I listen to Richie Valens. My favorite song is We Belong Together.
And we belong together.
2028, the Olympic trials are going to be in Los Angeles. I plan to be there after that, be on the big screen, competing for Team USA. I will be there. I will be there. Hey, I'm just getting started. Jelani Hervey, I'm a Rufus King graduate. I was a silver medalist at the WIA State Track and Field meet. I'm this week's Fox 6 High School Hot Shot.
Man, those jumps are certainly impressive. Jelani saved his best for last, setting a new PR and a school record at his final state meet. He now heads to college, following in his mother's footsteps as he hopes to create a legacy of his own. We'll be right back.
Brewers do wrap up their homestand this week against the Pirates. Game 2 of that series, indeed, right here on Fox 6. That's now Freddie Peralta and Paul Skeens. Brewers in Cincinnati to wrap the week.
And how about the Packers? More in practice in Green Bay before they head to Indianapolis for a joint practice against the Colts on Thursday. Second preseason game on Saturday. Tim, you will be there all week in the great Hoosier State to preview the Packers and the Colts.
You know a little about that state.
Sure do, just a little bit.
Absolutely. No, we're looking forward to that. Badgers, by the way, now back in Madison. Their season's coming pretty fast here, too, before the month is out.
Yeah, about less than 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
28.
28,
yeah. Absolutely. Brandon's back next week. Lily's out next week.